How's it going, guys? Today we have this 2017 Honda Civic Type R in championship white. And this is, best way to say it is a track car. It's got 19,000 miles on the odometer roughly, but this has been converted quite a bit to be a pretty awesome track car. This is a one owner that we ended up shipping in out of state. And I found a lot of history of the car. The prior owner, he was actually a YouTuber, and he's got some awesome footage of the car, all the ups and downs that he's had with it. His name is Flying Gato. But everything I found out was through him, thanks to those videos. But the setup is pretty, off the shelf, I guess you could say, minus the roll cage. It's got Fortunato 510s and white line sway bars, and then I think the rear control arms are Ibach for camber adjustment. But the car is dialed in really well where it's at. And then exterior is pretty simple. This car is actually dubbed down from what it used to look like. It had a different set of wheels and tires. These weren't its dedicated track tires or wheel fitment. I'm sure it had 18s. These are also 18s as well, but it did have an APR GT style wing, if I get that right. It's like a version 2 of something, but they got the factory wing back on, and then a couple other minor things were changed before he got rid of the car. But in the front end, you got the race bred front splitter. That's a wood compound. And then really simple other than that. It's got the what he called the eBay special grill, and then the vents over here are opened up to allow some airflow, and then these are actually painted around the trim, which is really cool. But the big thing with this car, it's a track car. It's not a perfect car. These things get driven. But this one actually ended up kissing a barrier on this front section. So there was some pretty major damage repaired. Something you're not going to see on the Carfax, because when you're on the track, you never talk to insurance. But it had quite a bit right here repaired. But, this is a track car. This stuff can happen. So you can't be too surprised by it. But basically this hood, this front fender, the bumper, and then areas around the door seal were repaired. Even the windshield was replaced. But they did a pretty good job considering the extent of the damage. And then as a result as well, the airbags on this section were deployed. Still has the original steering wheel, and this just taped up. I mean, it's not perfect. But when you're looking at a track car, you're not going to want a show car, because this thing's going to get beat up. And this is how it is. But overall, it looks great. I got lots of compliments driving this car around. Part of me wants to keep it, but I can't keep them all. But anyways, we're going to do a 360 walk around of the car. We'll get into specifics of everything done to it. And we'll start up here. So factory hood still. You're going to expect some rock chips here and there. By the way, that incident happened in 2019 at a Grid Life event. But expect to see some little chips and whatnot in the paint. Most of the fitment on the body lines is pretty good. This is probably the worst, but it doesn't look too bad. And I believe the prior owner actually got rid of this for an FL5 or a new C8, something like that. Well, hopefully it gets an FL5, because those are pretty badass. It's also got full face rotors, so you get rid of the drilled and slotted. You don't need to worry about the heat checking on this, on the full face as much. So that's nice, and it's also a little bit cheaper too. But the brakes are great. I believe it's got Hawk pads. I don't know the specifics of the pads, but when you're running a performance pad, they're going to be noisy. but it's a give and take. You get better performance. It's pretty cool. Let's show you this section. And that the APR wing that I had, I believe it actually is the factory mounting positions, if you ever want to go back to that. So if you do have to drill any extra holes, you won't see them. It's pretty cool, pretty nice. And it still has the factory catback exhaust. It does have an upgraded downpipe. You will have this too from when the old wing was on here. So a little scuff against it. Like I said, it's not a perfect car at all. All right. So before we get into the interior, we'll jump into the engine bay real quick. So let's go open her right up. So it's got a couple bolt-ons. It's got the PRL downpipe and front pipe. Let's see if I can open the hood. Spin this guy. Here we go. So PRL downpipe, front pipe. It's got the PT, I believe it's PTP turbo blankets. He did his best to fight the heat soak that you'll get on the track, because these things, you know, depending on where you're at, they can get hot lap after lap. So he did a couple mods to kind of help with that. It's got the Acuity reverse flow radiator hoses and then a coil rad radiator. So cooling mods go a long ways. And then the inlet pipe for the turbo. He also did the heat wrap. There's actually a lot of this all around the car. Whatever you can do to help with it. And then a big, nice upgrade is the Mishimoto expansion tank. The factory ones, they don't like track conditions very well. They get hot, the plastic cracks, and you got a coolant leak, and that's something you don't want to deal with at the track. So Mishimoto makes a pretty solid setup. And then the intercooler is a PRL as well. Pretty cool. Looks like factory, but when you look at the end tanks, it's got the billet piece. Looks really nice. And then, what else am I forgetting? Car's tuned on K tuner. I believe it's like a stage 1 or a V1 file. Didn't go for huge power gains, but I mean, where the power is plenty. I think this tune picks up at least 50 wheel horsepower. But the car rips. It rips. It shifts amazing. It's got the Acuity shifter assembly, which is totally badass on this thing. So you can check that thing out. And it looks cool. And that's why you left the center console out, so you can see all that. But it shifts awesome. I highly recommend it. Even if you don't buy this car, definitely consider getting one of those. Oh, then you got your top hat, so you can make your dampening adjustment, camber adjustment. We're not touching any of that. And then we also did fresh Motul 300V. We put 5W40 in it, but that's what it has in it right now. We get our oil locally in Arizona at We Don't Lift. They're a Motul dealer if you guys ever need any of that out here. But big thing done. We got this awesome roll cage. And this was done by JPC Fabrication. And this is a FIA cert cage. So this will pass tech probably at most of the track events that you're going to go to. This car was used primarily for SCCA time trials, but NASA also has that organization, especially in Arizona. AZ is more of a NASA pro autosport state, but you will pass tech. One thing that you're going to have to plan to do is get updated harnesses. These are about expired, so December 22. Not exactly sure if that means this year. 23 is the last, but plan to update those harnesses. And we got the OMP TRS-E seat. If you're a wider guy, this seat actually fits pretty well. The OMP seat I run is a lot tighter than this. I actually really enjoy this seat. But it's also got Sparco Sprint for your passenger. So that's nice. You actually bring someone along on the track. And then with the cage all the way through, things wicked. JPC Fabrication did a really good job on this cage. And of course, you got a race car, you're not gonna have speakers. Power windows, motors out. You do have the front power windows still. The car still has the navigation, but your speakers don't work. This is not a street car. Can be if you want to drive on the street, but don't expect all the goodies. And then you can see the remainder of your cage back here. You'll get some overspray when they did paint it, but again, it's a race car. What are you gonna do? So pretty cool. Especially no window tint in the back. People behind you will see that badass cage. I'll show you this section right here. And the door bars are really awesome. A lot of times these things usually swing out, but there's still plenty of room. You know, you can get in there and get it out. Pretty cool. And I'm gonna try my best to hop inside so I can pull up the gauge cluster. You're gonna have warning lights and messages on the dash. The service interval, I gotta reset my scanner. For some reason, it won't activate on here. You will have the airbag light on, not for that incident, but actually the aftermarket seats don't plug in. There's nothing to plug in, so you're gonna have the airbag light on regardless. And then like a couple other ones, a couple other messages. We'll start it up. See the mileage. Crazy low mileage, 2017. You got your shifter here. This thing is so cool. Get in and watch all the mechanisms do their job. Pretty satisfying. This car has both sets of keys. The Type R keys. Let's see here. You got all this. Makes pretty cool noises, I will say. You still have your electronic brake down here, your hold. And then your R mode does have the active exhaust. You put it in comfort, but you got coilovers now, so that comfort stuff doesn't exist. You don't have the active dampening. So that's another message you're gonna have on your dash is because of that. But again, it's a race car. What are you gonna do? So, and then if you need it, you got your maps. So pretty cool. Still got your USB down there. That does work. I did verify. Then your power outlet. But this is pretty much gonna wrap up this little walk around video. I'm gonna try to get out one last time. If you do want to make sure this Type R is available, you can go to azautohunters.com. If you have very specific questions, please do reach out to us. You can get our info on the website, or even easier, go on our Instagram page and shoot us a DM if you have any specific questions with this car. But other than that, we're gonna end the video here. Appreciate you guys watching it. Take care.